Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
and Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. We are your hosts. I am certified epigenetic human performance coach, Susan Robbins, and I am here with the lovely
Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author.
This is the place where we talk about everything, lifestyle and environment, and how it relates to our genetic expression. So today, I typically do the intros with guests, but these people are personal friends of Kate's. So I'm just going to turn the reins over here to Kate, my lovely co-host, and let her announce who our guests are today. Buckle up. It's going to be a fun one. Go ahead, my friend.
All right. So our guests today are very dear to my heart personally. They're some of my very best friends. But for those who don't yet know them, you'll be blown away by their high profile, deeply knowledgeable approach to healthy living. These two are a power couple in the health and wellness industry like no other. They have worked in sales and leadership development for Herbalife for 20 years, focusing on prevention and community health, and have earned the prestigious chairman's designation, which means they're among the top 100 sales teams worldwide. They have run huge trainings across the globe and provide on-site business and leadership speeches for many prominent companies. Additionally, they created Fit Camp, a healthy, active lifestyle model now used by Herbalife in more than 90 countries. Mark is a former professional athlete, and Jill is an academician and professional to the tune of 2 impactful master's degrees in public health and health administration, and she's a soon-to-be PhD graduate focused on employee health, risk reduction, social connection, organizational performance, culture, and leadership. I have personally had some of my deepest, most meaningful, stimulating, and inspiring conversations with these 2 incredible humans, and now we bring them to the Everyday Epigenetics audience so that you can learn from them as well. Mark and Jill Addy, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Kate, for that beautiful introduction. I think Mark and I are both blown away and just truly honored to be with you, Susan, and with you, Kate, my dear friend. We just hold the 2 of you in such high regard. We love your podcast and the work that you're both doing in the world. It's so meaningful and so needed. And for Mark and I, we're just so honored to be invited to be here and share a little bit about the things we work on and are passionate about. So thank you.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it. Kate, just all the time we've had over the years. I think it's been the last 6 years we've been together, and all the conversations we've had. I will say every time Jill comes back from her walks with you, right, she's so inspired, and she's like, we were talking about this and we were talking about that. And I get a little jealous sometimes. I don't get that much time with you, but still, it's really wonderful to have you as a friend and in the neighborhood and out there with my wife. You guys just brainstorming and talking life and stuff. So we're honored to be here together with both of you. And yeah, let's have some fun today.
Awesome. I think, isn't it, with all of us, what we all do, it's that ripple effect. How can we reach more people? Because people need help. Yes. People need help. Right before this, as we were waiting for Kate to come on earlier, I said, so what are your areas you guys are into? And they said longevity. And I immediately perk up and I'm all excited. Because it's not about just living longer. It's about living longer, healthier, and having that quality of life. And so you guys going on your walks and talking about these things and what are the things that we can bring to people? I think it's a beautiful thing. And I have my circle of people, Kate and I talking, what can we do to reach people? So that's really what that how that spoke to me with what you're doing. And it's just that ripple effect. Just the more we talk about it and the more we put it out there, and that's why I created the podcast last year, was to put it out there that the things that we do are available, but just how every decision you make, it makes a difference. You're turning good genes up or down and bad genes up or down. So it's, even if it's just awareness about around those thoughts of those decisions we make, that's why we're all here. And that's why we're all called to do what we're doing. We just all do it in different ways, but it all fits so perfectly together. Kate, I'll let you start off. Go. I just wanted to say that that's why I'm just excited to have this connection as well and see where we go from here.
Yeah, great. I also think, speaking of our walks that Jill and I take, and there have been many dinner conversations where Mark is present, my husband's there, our kids are running around. I think this type of work, it is taken really well to community. We do this together. And that's what's so lovely about our time together, is that when you have people in your life who are really aligned with this intention of living not just long, but also long and healthfully and with awareness, then you can build that life together. And we have a little village here in between our families where we're raising each other's kids and we have similar values. And so we're all promoting this perspective of healthy epigenetic expression, and it's becoming multi-generational too. So I think community is a really cool aspect to it. And yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys just to start out, because when I think of the two of you in health, I think of you as cornerstones of different aspects of it. Mark, I feel like you really understand the physiology, the anatomy, what's going on chemically in the body. And Jill, so much of what we talk about is the psycho-emotional, cognitive, behavioral, sometimes community. Like, so you hold really different perspectives. And I was wondering if you could each just speak to what your definition of health is.
Oh, such a good question and a great place to start. Do you want to kick off, Mark?
Sure. I think that's a great question. And a lot of times, just the other day, I had this exchange with someone and he was like, "Oh, but I'm healthy and I'm look at me, I'm healthy." I said, how do you measure health? And he's, "What do you mean?" And so typically we start off with, from my perspective, the physical piece of it, right? Obviously, you've got the big blocks of health, the things that we're looking at today that make the biggest impact on living long and living well, right? They're the things that come to top of mind, like maybe it's VO2 max, or it's muscle mass and body composition, right? Or it could be strength. Okay, and these are crucial things, but I think the thing that we've really come together on, that Jill has really helped me balance out, like you'd say, Kate, is understanding like those are very important, and they would be the top of the list of things that somebody would say, "Oh, this is an indication that you're going to live long and you have a high VO2, you have a lot of muscle mass, you're strong." But those things without the social connection and the purpose, like, they're out of balance. And I don't think we talk about that enough. And that's one of the things that Jill and I have really come together on, is recognizing, it's almost like I use the example of the tip of the iceberg is the stuff we always talk about, the things on Instagram, and again, strength, muscle mass, VO2. But the big piece is really the social connection and the purpose. And with Jill, with this project, this new PhD project that she's working on, it's really been exciting for me because it's like I feel balanced out the message. And I don't know if you want to add that in.
Sure. And so I think you mentioned this, Kate, that we have these different backgrounds, but we have brought those perspectives together. So for maybe people that aren't familiar with you, Mark, you're a former professional athlete, an avid cyclist. I mean, doing mountain biking races constantly. So he's in this performance world a lot and working with peers and people that are interested in improving performance, cyclists, endurance athletes, and so forth. And a lot of them are looking at more of the physiological markers of longevity. How's my VO2 doing? How do I measure strength? We know it's important, but how do I even measure it? What's my body composition looking like? And how do I know if I'm improving those things over time? And so I love the world that Mark lives in, because he's teaching me so much as a female, because a lot of us ladies, like, we might go, I love my walks with Kate, but I also probably need to get my heart rate up beyond the point where I can have a conversation on a hike. So he's teaching me about things like, look, zone 5 heart rate, get myself moving a little more, and also putting on lean muscle, which a lot of women, we get a little concerned about that. We might have a thing around like feeling bulky or, oh no, what if I get too big? And he's really worked with me on my mindset around lean protein intake, trying to get at least a gram of protein per pound each day. And it's become this target for me of every day. Am I getting enough lean protein? Am I lifting some weights, lifting heavier weights? Looking at things like creatine or things that I've never taken before to really help with muscle development. So I really appreciate Mark's perspective because it's so different from the way I had previously lived my life or even had a perspective around health. I tend to live in this world of public health and what are these social determinants of health. So my background is more in the public health side of things. What are these risk factors that a lot of us are experiencing that might contribute to chronic illness, increasing risk factors for perhaps more serious diseases? How do we reduce those risk factors? What are ways we can go about it? And so a lot of my prior experience was more in the real medical healthcare field, working for hospitals and health systems and physicians, looking at the traditional side of medicine and healthcare, and also, of course, public health. But it really wasn't until we found Herbalife where I felt like we were truly doing community health work together, building out the Fit Camp Healthy Active Lifestyle program. And one of the things we noticed with that program is, yes, we were working with people on fitness. Yes, we were working with them on nutrition. We were there for them as a coach. We were measuring their progress on like an in-body scale to see how their body fat was doing. Are they putting on lean muscle mass? Are we improving over time? But it was the social connection aspect of that healthy active lifestyle event that was most magnetic. What happens when we bring like-minded people together who are all shapes and sizes, all different demographic groups, all different backgrounds, different education levels, different income levels, put them all together and let's play some dodgeball together on the beach. And we would have people play games. They would go for runs to the water and back. They were doing push-ups to build their strength, but the entire time they've got a smile on their face. They're having fun. There's no pressure to perform at a certain level. You get to go as hard as you want. Just trust your body, hydrate, of course. And then the biggest thing was we wanted to see them form friendships. Can you create new relationships, new bonds with people so that you're not on your health journey alone? And I think this issue of social connection and isolation, if I can step on my soapbox for a moment, is probably one of the most important things that's on my mind right now in terms of longevity and improving health and well-being inside our population. So if we look at loneliness and social connection issues, we're really dealing with things at an all-time high. Despite all of these devices and tools for ways we can connect even more, why is it that we're feeling more isolated from one another, especially post-pandemic? And so this is an interesting data point I was going to share with you on this call. Listen to some of this. Poor or insufficient connection is associated with a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. Loneliness and social isolation have been found to increase the risk of premature death by 26% and 29% respectively. And that comes from Julianne Holt-Lundstadt, who's a phenomenal researcher. I think it was her 2015 meta-analysis that looked at that. And it was just a fantastic data point, but it's also a scary one. So my goodness, how is it that loneliness and isolation could be risk factors for premature death? And can we do something about that? Are there interventions and ways in which we can form stronger bonds and connection to improve those things? So it's like his passion around physiological health, mine around community health and connection, and really solving this isolation issue. Merging those together is really our day-to-day work together.
Yeah, I remember seeing a statistic, and maybe you know this statistic, Jill. It was something like smoking 15 cigarettes a day is actually healthier for you than loneliness.
Oh,
You will,
goodness.
you will live longer if you're a smoker than if you're a lonely person. And I just remember there was like a list of things, and it was like smoking is healthier than loneliness. Obesity is healthier than loneliness. Alcoholism is healthier than loneliness. And we know those things are incredibly unhealthy and detrimental for our health on all levels. And if loneliness is more detrimental, then yeah, we've got a really big problem. And I think that US Surgeon General did a ton of work on loneliness.
Yes. A whole bunch that actually wrote that paper with him. So Vivek Murthy, as you said, our former US Surgeon General, his platform, I mean, you think of a physician who's like the top physician in the entire country. You can pick from any of these different topics, any of these different health issues, medical issues, public health issues. And what does he choose? Loneliness as the platform, the most concerning thing. And the title of his report, his white paper, was The Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, which brings forward the magnitude of what we're dealing with here, and how like the work that the two of you are doing so important is people are off on their own trying to solve these health issues or understand their epigenetics and understand their family history and the impact it's having on their health today. But they're often by themselves. They don't necessarily have a partner or a group of people to be a part of to really solve some of those questions they're facing.
Absolutely. And there's health types that are even more in need of connection than others. Some are more autonomous. They tend to function a little bit better, but they still need that tight social circle.
Yes.
Not a bunch of friends. Other ones, it's like the more the merrier, or
Right.
just family. And others are just like, I just have my two people in my life and I'm happy. So everybody tends to differ that way. I want to touch back on something Mark said earlier, where he was talking about we talk about food and we talk about fitness. And I immediately went to a playground and there's the seesaw and it's just back and forth. And some people never get off that seesaw of just the food and the fitness. But if you look at the merry-go-round, and there's all those clips around the merry-go-round, and what I work with is 6 different priorities around lifestyle. Food and fitness, social is one of them. The mind is another one of them. Some people's minds just don't shut off, others don't concentrate. What am I missing here? Oh, your surroundings. No one talks about the environment. How is your environment? And it could be a very lonely environment. It could be a cluttered environment. This can affect performance. If Mark's working with somebody, an athlete, say, and they want to increase performance, but they go home and their place has so much clutter that they can't think straight, it's really hard to stay on point with the goals that they're looking to achieve. And then work is another priority, of course. So I'm picturing from the seesaw of just those 2 things that everybody only focuses on to what about this merry-go-round? If you fall off that merry-go-round on one area, it's still going, but it's not as efficient. It's still like off kilter. So we have to work on all of those complex issues with the human as opposed to just the seesaw of food and exercise. They're big parts, but that social aspect, and I think we saw that with 2020, you isolate people, you can control everybody. Like people will become like a lemming when they have nobody around them. The suicide rates went up like crazy, alcoholism, drug use, because of the lack of connection. And then we have all the technology, and Kate and I have talked about this many times already, and I had prior about the technology being great because look, we're all able to connect where we couldn't before. We'd have to get together in the same space. But it makes it easy for people to say, oh, I want to connect a bit, and then it's press a button and I'm disconnected. It's like the screen is here, the phone is here, we can look up what we want, and I can just send a text and go, how's it going? But not actually connect and feel and touch and be around the energy of the other people. And she had done 3 episodes prior with me around relationships. And I had another woman do 2 episodes around relationships and intimacy. And to Kate's that were last year, because we had 2 last year, 1 this year, the 2 of hers and 1 of the other women's were in the top 5 podcasts of mine last year. Wow. What does that tell us? People are looking for a healthy connection. They want connection. And a lot of them now really don't know how. They become that bitter. Some isolate themselves and on purpose, which I think is sad because we're not meant to be by ourselves. And others, I think, just get pushed away to the point where they're like, I'm just not going to try anymore. I don't know what to do. And so I love that you're getting the word out there that connection is such a major part because it is in those cultures that live the longest as well. They raise raising each other's families. There's always someone there. So I just wanted to touch on all of that with Jill, with the community aspect, and Mark with just that it's not just about food and fitness, that all the so many influencers get out there, eat the protein, do the heavy lifting. But what if you're not doing the other things?
Right.
You'll still never be complete, and you're still going to be missing out on those pieces that are going to increase your quality of life. All right, I'm done.
I have to say, like your point of people have forgotten, they've lost the ability to connect. Jill and I have these morning coffee dates. That's like our morning thing.
That
Every morning we have a coffee date, and it's if you could be a fly on the wall and listen, sometimes the topics go off to they're fixing things with the kids, other times it's changing the world. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to slow each other down. Okay, I'm not ready to change the world yet. Let's wake up a little more. Okay. But one of our morning coffee conversations, we were having this exact conversation, what you're saying about people have lost the ability, they don't know how to connect. And so one of the things that we'll do with people is we'll work with them on a series of actions that they take on a daily basis in the different areas, right? Some on the fitness, some on the food, right? Some on the movement. Okay. And then we came up with this one on social connection. We're like, what could we do to get people to start to ramp up their social connection? And so we created this little concept, like it's a gradient. Okay. In the very beginning, on a daily basis, right? If somebody were to start off with, let's start with something simple, send a text. Hey, just thinking of you. Just want to say hi. Just touch a base, man. Hope you're doing good. You send a text. That's the beginning. But I agree with you. You send a text and then you disconnect. That's not enough. So we want to take it then from a text to a call, right? People don't talk on the telephone today. It's intrusive. You're like to just call somebody directly. It's so funny to think of, because I just call people up. Hey, what's going on? You know, like they're like, oh, you called me? But that's the next level up this gradient. Okay. And if you can teach people to start with a text, let's move to an actual call. Maybe you have to set the call up with a text, right? Hey, are you free at 9? I'd love to chat. Okay. Another part of the gradient would be a voice text, right? It's a little more intimate than just a whatever text, typical text, right? Now we go a voice text, and now we actually do a live call to an in-person, actually getting together with somebody. And so we work with people to try to move them up this gradient to fill this social connection bucket. And it's that one right there. It has been so fun. It was one of our morning coffee conversations. I'm like, that's it.
Yes, and it comes from the place too. I think all of us want connection. All of us, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to belong is on that list. Or you look at, I think it's Baumeister and Leary, they have a research in, I think it's 1995, where they looked at the need to belong. It's a human need. Like it's not a want, it's a need. But the funny thing is we all expect the other person to do it.
Mm.
We're like, oh yeah, if somebody wants to reach out to me, they'll be in touch. And we put a lot of weight on the other person to think of us, to be planning something with us, to communicate with us. And so a lot of the work we have to do with somebody is the mindset shift of it's a personal responsibility to create connection. It's a verb, it's action-based. It's like, we must be the ones, if we want to improve this, to take the action steps to do. But the other thing that I was thinking of with your merry-go-round, Susan, is I was thinking of all the different slices that are important in someone's life, whether it's their meaningful work, it's their health, it's their family, it's their friendships. We call it whole life success if somebody can balance those. And most of us are doing well in certain areas and off kilter in another. So this isn't a conversation about perfection in any way. I don't know if it's attainable. I think it's all about how can we improve what some of these areas that are highest priority or have the greatest need in this moment. Maybe someone looks at their merry-go-round, their slices of the pie, and health is on the list. It's one of the things that they want to take on, but work's doing well. So, okay, great. Or maybe finances need some work, but work itself is doing well and the family is doing well. Great. We're all going to be shifting and balancing constantly in our evaluation of our whole life success. But if we could know, like, I think the first step to your point, Susan, is awareness. What are your pie slices? What's important to you? And then here in 2025, can we move it up just a little bit? Could we take one of those areas that matters and go just 1 degree? I think most of us would be stunned by how much life can shift from a 1 degree change. We don't need to go leaps and bounds and go from a 2 to a 10 if we were to rate ourselves using like a life coaching tool. We could go from a 2 to a 3, and that would be a really big improvement. And I think the other thing we find is that if we take on one of these areas, more often than not, the other areas benefit too. So the moment we just increase health a little bit, oh my goodness, my relationship's starting to work out even better. I'm closer with my children. Maybe they're working out with me now. I'm just finding some friends maybe that I'm training with to do a race together. And it's just all of a sudden the friend bucket is improving. So it's a neat cascade that can take effect.
Even parents that cooking with their kids. Why don't you bring it into the kitchen? Let your kids cook with you. Make that a family affair. Little things that we just never think about.
Yeah, I need to take that on.
Try.
But why am I doing that? It's such a good point.
I had a friend who had her 2-year-old dropping in pasta. Just he loved it. He wanted more and more and more. I think that we get so focused on how things should be. Why not open that box up a little bit and try something different? Anything that might engage the family to work together and just step outside the parameters of what we think we need to do. We all eat together, but why does it have to be mom that cooks everything?
Yep, we can always shift things around. I love it when you cook, by the way. He's a good cook.
You're hired.
I have some funny meals. We have, I shouldn't even say it. My meals are pretty simple.
Eggs and brown rice, but it gets the job done.
Gets the job done, yeah. And I think too, there's an interesting link here between really being in the present moment, which is where life happens, but also having an eye on the future and charting your direction forward so you can have that longevity mindset, because your future is going to be based off of so many present moments that build upon each other. And I know, Mark, you and I have had some conversations about Peter Attia's work on longevity, and he talks about both lifespan and health span. And the health span perspective is how long you're healthy for. So the idea would be that you live as long as you live, and then when it's time to die, it happens quickly. You don't have that decade or so of suffering. Like my father-in-law right now had a stroke about a year ago, and his quality of life has been so low, and he's in that decade of not dead, but also not really full of life and vitality. And so health span is the direction that we want to be heading, where you live healthier for longer. And I wonder, Mark, like specifically with some of the tools, I know you're really knowledgeable about the VO2 max piece, about the strength training. HRV is something we've talked a lot about. Can you talk a little bit about health span and how that integrates with what we do in the moment and how it charts that direction forward for us?
Yeah, I love talking about these things. You know, and something my entire life, I've always had this, like, I'm a big fan of lifespan and health span, right? I want to get to triple digits. Okay. But I want to get 99 point whatever 9 years of health span in there, and then one day be climbing a mountain and be done. Right. That's my goal. So I always like to say, hey, give me health span, but also give me lifespan, because I've got a lot of cool things that I want to do in my life. I think that's my attitude of what gets me out of bed in the morning is I'm excited to live life, right? I want to have fun. I want to meet people. I want to make a difference. I want to be with my family. And yeah, I think number one, that's how I start my day. What Jill would say is, I jump out of bed in the morning. I'm grateful for that. I know not everybody has that luxury of that mindset, but it's just how I've always been. And so I really started looking at, for me, again, we go back to the Peter Attia work, and I love his work because I think one of the things that he's done is he's made it very clear with people, what are the big movers, right? The things that really impact all-cause mortality, right? And quantified them, right? Again, I'll list them again. VO2 max, probably number one. Why? Because you can't cheat the test of a VO2 max, right? You can't take a supplement for 2 weeks to get ready for it. It's a over time, the work that you do, the aerobic training, the strength training, the body composition, it all comes into play. You can't fake that test, right?
Mark, can I just stop you really here quick? Because some people might be sitting here saying, what on earth is VO2 max? So could
Okay.
you just give an easy explanation, like VO2 max for dummies? If you looked at that book, that's what that would say. And I'm not calling anybody a dummy. I know what it is, but because I work with this stuff too. But some of these terms, if you could just break them down for our everyday person out there that wants to understand what to do with VO2 max, what it is. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's a great question. So real simple, like think of maximum oxygen uptake, like what your ability to run, your ability to ride a bike, your ability to even so far as do daily living activities, okay? Your VO2 max, the higher that is, the more things you could do, the faster that you can do them. And it's an indication of health, again, because you can't fake that test, okay? In order to have a high VO2, you have to have strong lungs, you have to have a strong heart, you have to have strong muscles, your brain has to be working, you have to have circulation. All the major systems in the body have to be working strong, okay, working well, okay? So
Yeah, I would say it's a sign of aerobic fitness, of your ability to utilize oxygen optimally. So it's yeah, like you said, you can't, and when you say can't cheat the test, the way I hear it is like there's a set of work to do to improve it. And you can't take a shortcut on the work.
No.
So there's some cardio to do, or the heart rate might be a little higher than we want it to be. And there's probably, like, hey, if you have a good hill in your backyard, doing some sprints up and down that hill, that's really great for VO2 to help that peak. So there's some baseline training. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit, what someone could do to start. Because I know, like, for me, I never thought about it. I was like, what's VO2? Why do I even care? I had heard of it before, but Mark was really the one that sat me down and said, listen, we're going to train this in 2 different ways. We're going to do some zone 2 training on your heart rate, which is nice, slow, steady, long runs. Maybe some, Kate and I wear some weight when we do our hikes together. So we're rucking together out there. We have our weight vests on. And then again, we have a beautiful hill. We're so lucky in our backyard pretty much, where it's perfect for hill sprints, jacking up the heart rate nice and high. But those 2 activities on a weekly basis, you know, really can help move that number up. We just want to see it go up, up, up if we possibly can. So it's partly like getting the number as high as we possibly can, and then keeping it there as long as we can, so that we can, rather than a steep decline in VO2, to your point, Susan, can we make that decline less? Can we reduce the rate of decline so that, again, we can have some health span and lifespan?
No, I'll go back to Kate's question of the daily activities, but
yeah.
I'm also going to say the VO2 max, similar to muscle mass. Jill's bringing up a great point. We all know that muscle mass is a key indicator of longevity. And as we age, it goes down, right? And so one of the things that we really focus on with people is, number one, okay, if somebody's watching this at home, if I had a chart, right, you know, you're going to see a decline as someone ages with both VO2 and with muscle mass. That's natural. But one of the things that we can do is we can slow the decline, which is crucial, right? We want to slow that decline, okay? The second thing that we can do is we can increase the starting point. That's what you really want to be able to do, is both slow the decline and raise up the starting point of when that decline starts to happen, okay? And that gets back to your question, Kate, about, okay, how do I do that? And that's really where this activities on a daily basis, right? I believe that I'm grateful that we have the luxury where we live, the time that we have, the family support that we have, the education that we have. Not everybody has that, okay? But many of your listeners, I'm guessing, Susan, probably do, okay? And my attitude about this is, it's my job to take care of these things, right? It's my job to take care of my health. It's my responsibility, okay? It's under my control. And so what are the things that I can do on a day-to-day basis that will move these numbers? Number one, sleep. Right, Susan, I've heard you talk about sleep on the podcast. Okay, and listen, yes, you can get very complicated with sleep, and you may need to hire a sleep coach and figure out what's going on. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of people need to get it really simple. You need to carve out time to sleep. You need to
Bingo.
go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. You need to have a dark room. You have to make it cool. Create a little bedtime routine to get yourself in the mood. It's a practice. Okay. The way you sleep at nighttime, most people don't give it any thought. They're like, oh, I got to go to bed because I got a lot to do tomorrow. No, I got to go to bed because I need to recover. I want to live long. I want to live well. There's a whole routine that you can develop that doesn't take a lot of time, but it is your responsibility to develop it if you want to sleep well. Okay. So number one, sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. That's going to do it for most people. Okay. Now, if somebody has issues with sleep, maybe they need a sleep coach. Maybe they need some special supplements and things like that. Okay. So again, we're talking basics. So number one, sleep. Number two, strength work. Okay. Females, males, we all need to do more strength work. I laugh because in the beginning, Jill was.
I would not go in
Wouldn't
that
go
side
on
of the
that
gym.
side of the gym.
No, no,
right?
no. I'm sticking on this treadmill. That's not happening. He's
Mm-mm.
like, I promise you, nothing will happen to you if you go over there. You're gonna be okay. And so I was like tiptoeing over to the weight side. It seems like that's where all the boys were. So I was like, I'll just stay over where the ladies are.
Not anymore.
But yeah.
Now it's like
He turned me on to weightlifting. Gosh,
it's been a
long time.
years.
Yeah.
But that's the second one, strength. Okay. We have to add muscle mass. Okay. It's not just strength, but now
Grip strength.
grip strength is a huge
Yes,
one.
farmers.
Huge indicator.
Huge. The next one would be the aerobic work and then the high intensity work. We need to do both.
Mhm.
Jill said, you can't just go out for a walk every single day. We need to do some sprinting. We need to do maybe some sprints on the bike. Maybe there's an exercise machine at home. Again, I'm talking to the individuals that can do this. If you have a limitation, understand you may need to build to this. This would be an optimal strategy. So we've got sleep, we've got strength. Let's call that next one stamina. We'll call it your zone 2, which is your base training, your long, slow distance. And then you've got your high intensity work, which is that peak of the triangle. If you're trying to build, if you think about building a big triangle, you want a high peak, that's your VO2. You need to have a big base. That's that long, slow distance work, right? So we've got the sleep, we've got the strength, we've got the stamina.
That social connection.
I'm going to add that. I would say movement.
Movement. Yeah, because for some it's not all exercise, but movement that feels good. Some people need more flow
Mhm.
and they
Absolutely.
do intensity. But for a brain thing, some are more endurance bound, some are more power. And
100% agree.
to just get them doing something they enjoy. It could be dance. It could be Tai Chi. Movement. I love that you categorize that as movement in general. Thank you.
You know, what's
people-
interesting, Susan, I totally agree. That movement piece, right? You get into a flow state, whether it's walking,
Mhm.
dancing, riding a bike, whatever it might be. We get into a flow state. We get into a thinking pattern. It's a healthy thinking pattern. But I want to make a point. Typically, if you were to look at someone's day, right? If you broke it down into zones, right? The vast majority of people, it's they sit all day and then they exercise for 45 minutes and then
they're back.
lay down. But if we started to look at our day all day long as a workout, like, of course, you're going to have time in there that's sitting. We need that time to work or read or whatever it might be. But standing, even being on your feet, walking, it's almost like these are like baby zones, but they're important. We don't want to have just all day long. And I sat, and then I worked out for 45 minutes. That's not enough. We need to look at our entire day and we need to integrate into our day. Again, these are luxuries, right? But maybe it's walking after we eat. Maybe it's walking and
that's such a good
talking
idea,
with our
actually.
spouse,
Yep.
right? You were gonna say,
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is that for sure, walking after you eat is one of the best things for your blood sugar. If you're ever using a CGM and you go for a walk after you have your dinner, amazing how well you can clear blood sugar. But
Even 10 minutes.
yes,
Yep.
exactly. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be.
10 minutes, people. 10 minutes.
And I was just going to add, because I was one of those people that was like sedentary workout and then sedentary, especially with this program I'm in right now with the PhD. There's so much reading to do. Anyone who's been through school of any kind, like you're just studying so much that you end up being more sedentary than you planned on. And so I had to buy a standing desk. It's not that expensive to do. I'm just giving a couple of quick tips. You can get it on Amazon, and like it just hits a button and it forces me to stand up, but I can still do my reading and I'm standing now and I'm moving a little bit. And then I was just elbowing Mark there today because my birthday was not that long ago. And I was like, I really want a walking treadmill because you could just, they're perfect, Susan. You've got one right there.
Right behind you.
Great
And
way
the mat
That's
for the
it.
standing desk.
I love it. Fantastic.
Ball chair.
Yeah, ball chair, perfect. All those little things are not that necessarily that expensive, but they're simple little things we can do. To your point, Mark, to have movement become like a day-long experience rather than these isolated, like, oh, just for 1 hour, I'm gonna get it in, get my steps in, and then the rest of the day I'm sitting. Great points, Mark.
yeah, and just to finish that, Kate, I know I'm taking a long time, but these are the activities through the day, right? Sleep, strength, stamina, steps. The next one we could get into, of course, nutrition, diet is going to be
Protein.
crucial. Protein, that's one of the main things that we focus on is protein, right? Making sure that somebody's getting enough protein to maintain the muscle mass. There's different types. You could maybe, I would put that almost in the bucket sometimes of supplementation, because that is something that we focus on, is getting whole food protein and then bridging the gap, right? Because most people are deficient in the amount of protein that they need.
And maybe
Okay?
you could speak to, that, especially for women, like being under muscled.
Under muscle, again, that's a key.
Just a part of this. I think it's Gabrielle Lyons that causes, she says muscle is the organ of longevity. It's just an interesting way to,
Yeah.
and I hadn't really heard it that way before, because most of us ladies, like, we stepped on the scale, we've been slaves to that number. And we haven't really thought about, okay, muscle's gonna weigh more than fat. We have to really shift the way in which we think when we step on that scale. If that scale is going up and you've been lifting heavy weight, good job. All that lean muscle mass on you looks beautiful. And the more we can retrain ourselves to see it as a good thing, that we're headed in the Healthspan lifespan journey by putting on lean muscle mass, by taking on these steps and removing this old, worn out, outdated connection to a number on a scale.
Right.
Totally. I remember listening to a podcast, and Jill, I might have even talked to you about this podcast. I can't remember her name, but she's maybe a Stanford researcher who's written like hundreds of papers on women's health and fitness. And I'll see if I can remember it for the show notes later. Sorry?
Might be Stacy Sims.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So
Yes, I love
something that she
research.
said, yes, because being a child of the 80s and 90s, I definitely have some body image issues around bulking up that I've had to work with around this. And she said something that I have like on a post-it and I keep it close to my heart. She said, we don't want to age gracefully. We want to age powerfully. And I loved that so much, because I don't want to be a wilting daisy, especially in my later years when bone density becomes a problem or fragility comes into my body. I want to be powerful. I want to be strong. I want to be able to, like Peter Attia says, stand up off the floor without using my hands. And I want to lift my grandkids, and I want to be crushing mogul skiing when I'm in my 80s. Like, I want to be active, and we can't do that if we're aging gracefully. We have to age powerfully, Stacy Sims says.
Yeah, excellent.
Being functional. We need to be able to pick things up, put them down, pick ourselves up, put ourselves down, lift things overhead. All these things that are functional day to day that you don't realize until how important they are until you can't anymore. That grip strength, right? That grip strength. What if you can't open a jar?
Right.
What if you can't put something up there? We just don't think about these things until we lose them. And then once you start losing them, it's never too late, because the body's such an amazing machine to turn around. But I totally agree with that. It's let's just sit back. This is age happening. And I was telling Kate in a podcast we did the other day that I had a little Facebook spat with a classmate of mine because we're all hitting 60. A lot of them already have. I'm coming up in a couple months.
Wait, you're way younger than that.
Thanks.
I was gonna
And
say,
he said, face it, we're old. And I go, but what's old? If you think in that mindset, guess what? You are. I don't think of my mindset anywhere near this. I look at my, like when someone says, what year were you born? What did you do something like, I have to keep scrolling to get back to 1965. It's like, right? Holy cow. But the minute you start that mindset in there, you're just screwing yourself. And
Totally agree.
there's certain
people
words I'm
use
not allowed to
ages.
say. Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
people-
don't ever say I'm old. That
No.
would never escape my lips. The other one is
No.
old. I don't use that word. Like, there's certain words, like it's like
Yeah, they're
purposely
stress words.
from the vet. Yeah. Because then we feel like the effect of it. There's nothing we can do. Like we're just passive and there's so much we can do, and there's so many steps that we can take to help age powerfully, to be strong and capable and build new skill sets.
I love that, age powerfully. And I think just to finish the whole thing, so often we'll talk with people and the things that they're focused on aren't the things necessarily that are going to make the big difference. I eat 100% organic. Yeah, but you don't have any muscle mass. Or I'm drinking this whatever special supplement or special water, but you don't do anything for your VO2. There's the big things that will move the needle. Let's handle those first, right? You don't sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. Let's handle the big things. Then if you want to add in the special water or the special supplement or whatever it might be, then let's go for it. But let's make sure we get the big stuff handled. That's how we're going to age powerfully, in my opinion.
I had a
No, I
moment
love that.
when I think I talked to you guys about it actually, because it was around pandemic time when we were in a bubble together and spending lots of connection in person. And I was going to stop drinking alcohol. And I had a moment like that where I was like, I'm eating organic and healthy. I'm working out. I'm sleeping well. And then I'm pouring alcohol on that every night and my glass of wine. And so I had that moment, Mark, where it was like, how could I be having forward steps if I'm like toxifying my body with poison every night, justifying it like, this is okay for my heart. The doctor says a glass is fine a day. And really, I reached that point of, no, I think we have to really do the things that contribute to holistic health and bring together all of these slices so that we're not getting in our own way for that lifespan and that health span that we're working towards, right?
Totally.
And speaking of the lifespan, health span question, I wonder, Mark, do you have one of the steps in your protocol? Because I know that you both spend a lot of time not only working out and eating well, but also meditating, breathing. Mark, I know that you're into cold plunge. There's an aspect of stretching. What are some other more kind of gentle, maybe unsuspecting things like breath work that you could put into this protocol for people so that they understand it's not just this sort of intense activity, but there's also this sort of restorative, soothing aspect for the body as well that's maybe equally important?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And one of the things to say is there's in my opinion, a lot of different ways that you can find that mindset piece. Jill does an amazing job with meditation and breath work, and she'll have the red light going. And I know I'll walk downstairs to her office and I can hear the red light going and I see it underneath the door. And I know she's doing her breath work and her meditation in front of the red light, right? And I'm like, ooh, don't knock on the door. I think over the years, breath work has been a big one for me. I've got different certifications from companies and breath work protocols. Okay. What I found for me though is being outdoors. Okay. Walking for sure is one of those flow state activities for me. I do a lot of cycling and I will say, and I hope your listeners get some inspiration from this, Susan, is what I found is for me, it's that zone 2 exercise is where I get the downloads. Okay. When I'm out in nature, I'm spinning on my bike, and my peripheral vision is activated. I'm riding and I'm just breathing. I don't listen to a podcast. I don't listen to anything. And I am telling you, over the years, the two things for me that I would call my real meditation, spiritual work, is that time in nature, on the bike, breathing, spinning the pedals, and thinking. And the second one is having a partner to walk with. I think one of the things Jill and I are known for in our business over the years is we had a concept called a gratitude hike.
Oh, love that.
Every single week, we created rituals, right? Where this was one of our rituals, was every Monday, we had a ritual where we would go to the same trail and we would hike in Southern California, and we would do this loop. It was about 45 minutes, and we would walk and we'd talk. This conversation some days would start off as, what's wrong and how are we going to fix this? And pretty soon it would shift to, wow, what a beautiful day. Look where we are. I'm really excited about it. You know what? Here's an idea we could do. It's amazing how having the right partner to be out in nature, walking, talking, and all of a sudden, again, the downloads would come. Okay. And so for me, it's those real two things. I find being in nature, right? Some movement, companionship, conversation. Those are the big ones for me. And it's built into my life. I say again, it's my job, right? I build it into my life. And I think that those little rituals, those things like that, that's for me, right? My meditation and breath work piece. So
I love the compatibility with you two. You're different. You have similarities. If I'm looking at what I work with the PH 360, I already know your health types. There are similarities because you both have part of the other in there, but there are some of those differences. And as soon as Mark opened his mouth, he's talking performance. And I wrote it down like data points, goals. And I'm thinking efficiency. Oh my God, this is so a crusader. And Jill's saying, but I like the flow and I love the meditation and all. I'm going, oh, and I'm looking at, she's holding her hand up and I'm looking at these long fingers and hands, right? And the lean. I'm going, oh my gosh, look at the sensor there. And the crusader is part sensor, right? So there's ways that you guys jam because everything you talk about has to make sense and logical to you guys. And then it's, let's input it. Let's put this to work. And how you create this flow for the both of you and the support, like seeing you two, just how you interact. It's really beautiful. And I think it's very inspirational. And so I just had to put that in there because I was just like, I knew exactly. I wrote down Crusader Sensor. It's just so funny to see you guys as really epitomes of health types that are pretty much in flow. And yeah, so I just thought that was really fun to see that and to see how you interact and that level of support. And I think that's so important. And I was talking to my friend about this yesterday, that there's two things. One is when you're talking about compatibility, people are all, and Kate and I've talked about this. Oh, what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? But we don't look at what's the compatibility with the other person. How do you live life? And will you support me living my best life in the areas that may be different from you? Can we put that together in a healthy way? And I think you two very much showcase that. And then when you were all talking, Kate, talking about the wine, like you do all these great things and then you go drink the alcohol and all. One funny thing, yesterday, we went to do a hike that I tried to do on Sunday. And of course, it was packed. But I thought Wednesday, 8 o'clock, not a problem. No parking.
Wow.
So there was another trailhead of one I've wanted to do forever, but didn't have the map downloaded. I'm like, oh, let's just try this one. No big deal. We just wanted a nice, chill, easy hike yesterday. 10 miles and 2,300 feet in elevation. Like 5.5 hours spent, right? We're like, oh my God, we need food. And we went to this amazing restaurant in Estes and had elk steak, trout, salmon, the extra veggies and salads. Basically ate 3 meals. And every time the waitress came back, there was nothing left on the plates. I could have licked the rest of what was left on there. But we literally had this conversation of, one, why would anybody sit inside when you can sit on the patio and see this amazing outdoors that fills you up? Number two, after doing something like that, we felt so good feeding ourselves amazing food. We didn't feel like crap. We were exhausted, but to just know that you're putting this good stuff in your body after doing that. And I said, think of people that do these ultras and everything else, and then they're down there just pounding the beer.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it, like just pounding alcohol. I'm going to go eat a pizza. I'm going to do this. You're just being so now once in a while, not a big deal, but that's so counterproductive from all the work you just did. And you created inflammation doing something for a long period of time there with some genetics that get flared up from high intensity exercise for over 2 hours. You're likely flaring up a couple of inflammation snips. Do you want to fill it up again with sugar and alcohol, which also increase inflammation, and wonder why it takes you longer to recover? And so I just wanted to throw this couple of quiz, because it's funny how all four of us are in different ways and with different people. We're having the same conversations around all this stuff, right? And we're seeing like how these things are affecting us. And so when we're talking to people about this, it's not, hey, just practice what I preach. We're also very different, but all of these things that Mark and Jill are talking about can be implemented in their personalized way. But all those steps still matter. What is that self-care? And I just really just see this emanating from the both of you as you talk about this. And I think the important thing, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're really saying, take that first step. Yes. Take that one step, and don't let intimidation fuel you for a less than future. Let that intimidation just go to the wayside. And it's not about what anybody's thinking. Nobody really cares what anybody's doing or thinking at the gym. We're all in our own spaces. Just do you. Just do you. Tune everybody out. But yeah, I just wanted to read all that, because it's just really been interesting just watching you two, how you interact, you play off each other, you finish each other's sentences. And then Kate's talking about having these conversations. You're having these conversations. Kate and I have these conversations. We're all talking. We're all in the same kind of space. How many other of us are out there? When you're thinking community and like-minded, we're hopefully creating more community so that more conversations can be had out there. Yeah. And I think that's just super important.
I think it's really incredible what the two of you have done with the podcast, because you've created a way to get a microphone to get these conversations out there. It's one thing for the two of us to be having them and a couple of clients and a couple of people, but you've created a platform to be able to speak to many. And so good job. It really making a difference in the field. Like it's inspiring to see. You found a way to speak to many, and that's a beautiful situation that you guys have created there. But
thank you. You too. I remember seeing videos of the two of you not so long ago on a huge stage in Poland with like how many people, how many thousands of people around you cheering. So you also make a massive impact.
Oh, thank you.
What you teach is so valuable.
Grateful.
Thank you so much.
This is, like you said, it's a fun thing to have these conversations and to have people to have them with. And you go back to that was one of the dreams that we had, was that we could one day build a business together. And it's been now 20 years that the two of us have been working side by side. You'd laugh if you saw the office. At one point in time, we tried to put 2 desks in this one little office, and that was
I think I lasted an hour. I pretty much like, okay, this is not going to happen. So now we have our own spaces, but
that's about how close we've worked together for the last 20 years. And Susan, I really appreciate the compliment. Like, I'm grateful, because I do feel like, there's the things that I am just not cut out for, Jill is amazing at, and the things that are like, hey, that's my strong suit, she's like,
I was like, please
here you go. And she empowers me and builds me up. So it's been and I think that that's part of health, right? That relationship piece, right? If you can find that partner that builds you up, right? If you can make the commitment to the relationship, like we always talk, when Jill talked about our whole life success, pie that we use. You use the merry-go-round, we use a pie, right? One of the key ones that we have is relationship, right? And I think this is getting back to the lifespan, health span, right? The relationship piece. And I don't mean family. That's a different piece of the pie, right? A lot of people, maybe they put that together, but for us, it's always been a separate, like this is as important of a piece of a pie as the family piece, maybe even more important. And that's always been a big one for us on the health side, because I do think that has a big impact on longevity, lifespan,
Absolutely.
and health span.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yeah.
grateful that we get the chance to work together and do these morning, the morning coffee date. That's another one.
Yeah, I love that. I had to write that down.
Sometimes it's brief, right? We're all
You're
busy and you're
Right.
running the door, but it's brief and it's like a quick, we always cheers. You would laugh. I have a little espresso cup, and then Jill typically has
I have a
big
gigantic mug.
gigantic mug.
We all
I got
have
my
different
little-
caffeine needs.
You don't drink with the pinky out though, do you?
It's so opposite of how tall you are in real life, Mark. You like tower over everyone and you drink a tiny little cup. So is there
It's like-
anything that we didn't get to today that you guys really want to talk about? Because I want to make sure that if you feel like there's any real gems that you get them out there.
There's one, and I think it ties to, of course, we've talked about physiological longevity, these big VO2 strength and so forth. We also touched on social connection, but there's some really interesting research from a professor at the U of M School of Public Health. And I had a chance to meet him, gosh, 23 or 24 years ago. He did a presentation for my class there, and I followed his research ever since. He went through a traumatic life issue of losing his own daughter, which I think for any of us, if you lost a child, it'd be the most earth-shattering thing you could possibly go through. And he was really in a deep, dark place, and he tells the story better than I could possibly compare to, but he had this experience of rowing out in the middle of a lake on Lake Michigan. And he was like, I just wanted to row all the way to across the lake, which would be physically impossible. He would have lost himself had he tried this. And he goes, and I just got to this place in the lake where I could either choose, am I going to go into the depths of this despair, or am I going to turn around and find a new purpose to his life? And he decided to go, obviously, to go back to shore to his cabin. And it was almost like, the way he describes it is his daughter's spirit felt very close in that moment. And he ended up moving his research in a new direction and becoming one of our thought leaders in the country around purpose and the importance of having purpose in one's life. And his name is Victor Strecker, by the way. He has this amazing book. I brought it over. It's called Life on Purpose. A fantastic read. He talks about his personal journey with it. But some of his research shows that having a greater sense of purpose not only increases feelings of emotional well-being, but can also affect, I thought you'd like this, affect how DNA expresses in the body, leading to actual physical health improvements. And so I just find that fascinating. My goodness, if we
Love that.
people in terms of longevity, physiologically, in terms of connection, but also having purpose in life. I think sometimes this whole idea of retirement, I don't know if I agree with it, because there's so much depth human beings have inside themselves, and there's so much they can give at all phases of life. And if we can constantly ask, okay, at this stage of life, at this place I'm at, what is my sense of purpose? What is one thing I can do to not only be grateful for this moment, but to serve other people in this moment? And inside those questions, I think we can find new chapters, new adventures, and new ways to give back to the world.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
That reminds me of the Arthur Brooks work that I think we've all shared as well on fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence.
Yes, the
Not
second
getting
one,
one confused.
David Brooks, yes.
Or David Brooks. Is it Arthur or David?
It's Arthur Brooks and David Brooks. David Brooks
Okay.
came out, and Arthur Brooks
Yeah.
on happiness. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just really knowing like that there are certain times of life for being like activating movement and having the energy and pursuing things. And then there's a season of life for being the wisdom keeper and the mentor and the landing pad for these kind of young, bright stars to come for support and resourcing. And I think purpose doesn't have to end in any season of life. And so many people start to shut down their purpose if they feel like there's some new young talent coming in and maybe they're being replaced, or maybe they're retiring, or maybe their health is shifting and they can't do what they used to do, or things aren't as appealing as they used to. But that doesn't have to be the end of purpose. That can be the beginning of a new purpose and activating a new season where you get to show up differently and you get to restart and you get to redefine at every stage of life. And I just feel like that's so important, Jill, that purpose, because if we have purpose, then what are we doing here? What's the point?
A lot of people volunteer
Mhm.
after they retire to have that sense of purpose. How can I continue to do something that makes me feel good? And I think in that, I used to use what you're talking about, and I referred to it picturing the seesaw, the merry-go-round, but it was like a pie chart, the circle of life.
Yeah.
And one of the things on that circle was joy.
Mm.
And you would put a dot on the inside if you didn't feel much, and then to the further was the outside, you're full in that area. And I would get circles of life back with dots near the center on joy. And that always made me sad. And I'd say, what brings you joy? And people, even now when I work with them, what brings you joy? I don't know. So I think that kind of goes with joy, purpose. You could put those together, because when someone has a purpose and they feel good about themselves, then you're creating that inner joy.
Yes.
And that's what you're putting out there to the world. And so, I love that about the life on purpose. I'm gonna have to look up that book. So if someone wants to talk with you guys, look up your website. I know there's a new business coming that you want to have ears ready or eyes ready. How can people find you to follow you?
Yes. So great. Thank you. And we're about to hit the green button go on the new business, but we're not quite there yet. But I think probably our personal social media is probably the best way. Yours is 24 Athlete on Instagram.
Yeah.
And mine is Jillian.Addy.
And that's ADDY.
Yes.
And it's JILLIAN, not like Anderson.
Exactly.
Just so we make sure. But we will have everything, all the links, everything in the show notes. Some people don't want to look in the show notes. That's why we make sure we put it out there everywhere. And before we end the podcast, Kate has a question to ask you guys, our typical little closer question.
Thank you, Susan. I feel like you've really been answering this throughout the entire podcast, which has been so incredibly valuable. But maybe if you want to just crystallize in on one thing that you're doing in your present life in the current moment to cultivate a radiant life through epigenetics, maybe each of you can tell us what that one crystallized thing would be.
I could answer this, or at least start, and then
Okay.
you build on it. I would say one of the things that I became aware of more recently was how fast I was moving through life. I would say in my 20s and 30s in particular, it was all about the next moment, the next thing, go, 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 achieve, 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 achieve. And I think there's a bit of a achiever's curse that can show up in life of having a moment of, oh my goodness, this is going by really quick. And that these moments we're in right now are life right now. And so I find that more often than not, I'm slowing down, taking a deep breath, I'm smelling the flowers, I'm sitting with my family members, I'm looking at the color of their eyes, I'm noticing the gestures they make or the funny things that they do. So it's imprinted in me rather than just moving past me. And I think more recently, I was just in Michigan and my parents are aging. It's like, I just don't want to miss a minute. I want to soak up the way it feels in their yard and the peonies that are blooming and the effort my dad's put into his garden and looking at the Baltimore Orioles with them as they sit on the feeder and not be like, yeah, but I got to get over here and get my work done. But no, just stand there with mom, the female Orioles at the feeder. Let's take a look and take in the moment. And I just find my hugs last longer. The pause is longer. I don't feel so rushed anymore in life. And I just feel like I'm soaking up the real essence of it rather than just moving through it. So I think that's probably, as far as living a radiant life and creating a different reality for myself and for my family and my friends. I think that's been a big shift.
Yeah,
I love that. Love that.
I think, yeah, and it shows.
Really?
Yeah,
My
it
mom
does.
said that
It
too.
does.
She
It
was
really
like,
does.
You guys are gonna have to get a room. I just watched this.
No, it does. It really
Oh,
does. It
that's great.
shows.
Thanks,
And
babe.
I think just to build off of that is really, you've heard a lot about the different, say, physical things that we might do, exercise and things, zone 2 and all that kind of stuff. But I do think, to build off what Jill said, I think one of the things that we've both done an amazing job with, and I'm grateful for, is you've been really trying to focus on seeing the kids.
Mhm.
I do think that's one thing that we've built into our life, is that if our kids could come in here, I think our kids would say they know mom and dad love them. And taking the time when they come down in the morning, it's, the kids know we have a funny, like, they know they have to report for duty in the morning. And that is to come and hug and embrace and get excited about the day. It's like, you didn't report for duty. So I think that those little things like that are the things that, the habits that maybe somebody doesn't see that we've built into the family, right? That creates the love and the connection. On top of that, I would say a big one is play, right?
He's so
It's
good at
just,
that. He's way better at that than me.
I love to
Talk about that,
play.
Mark.
I love to play with the kids. I love playing games. I love playing basketball in the morning. Bridger comes over in the morning and we get to before school, and it's 10 minutes of play, right? Or it's ping pong, or it's volleyball now. And it's like playing with the kids. I think that play time is one of those things that
That probably keeps
they'll
you young.
remember,
It's per
right? Not only
longevity.
keeps you young,
Yeah.
but they'll remember forever. They're going to remember that play time. And so I think that that's another one of those things that I've really slowed down, like, focus, hang on, don't be in such a rush. This is time to play. This is an investment. Oh, but I've got things I need to be doing. And so, hang on, go hit the volleyball with your daughter.
And actually, inside of companies now, they're starting to recognize the importance of play inside a company because you can access a different level of creativity. So, like the Conscious Leadership Group, one of their key like tenets is play. Get to know each other, have fun, enjoy this process. This work doesn't have to be so serious, and we can have a good time here and actually play some games here, and we can activate inside that some real areas of innovation that we might not have been able to access without it.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. We are so grateful for the two of you to share. And like I said, like just your teamwork, this is really a true example of teamwork, making the dream work. But just the way you look at each other, the way you interact, that's why I was joking around and go, you guys are going to need to get a room, because because you just see the love. You see the love, but you see how it supports the two of you and the family, and it just emanates. And we're just so grateful to have you on. Kate, is there anything else you want to say before I close it out?
I've enjoyed this so much with both of you. I know I can walk to your house and give you both hugs in the next few minutes, but I just want to thank you for joining us in a professional venture like this. Normally our life is in yoga pants, and this just is like it's a cool adventure to share. So I'm really excited for our listeners to now know about you and all of the gifts that you're shining into the world, and Susan to know you as well, because there's so much overlap, and maybe there's going to be opportunity for us to have another conversation on the podcast.
For sure.
I just am so thankful that you're in my life and that you're on our podcast, and really that you're just in the world. You're such incredible people.
Oh, thank you, Kate. And thank you, Susan. I can echo it right back to the both of you. Thank you for the work that the two of you are doing. We're just really inspired by you both, and so grateful for the chance to be with you and with your listeners. So thank you for having us today.
We're very grateful. And please, please, please share this podcast. Give us but people need to hear this information. So please put it out there, everybody. And I'm wearing bike shorts. Is anybody else wearing yoga pants? Come on. It's a benefit of being online. All business up front, at the bottom.
Well, you have to dress from here up.
That's the beauty of it. But that's the whole thing, right? And this is how I always end the podcast: is get out there, make it a great day, but be your most authentic selves. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life Coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.